Hayom Arbas Yom Shane. Hi everyone and welcome back to Your Week in Links. My name is Avi Weinstein and this time we've got some cider to go along with us. This is my weekly show in which I recap some of the articles that I posted and think about them in a deeper way. This week we got 4 different things to talk about. Thing number 1 is something I want to call Jay-Z versus Solange in the Art of Satire. This week, the AV Club, New Yorker, and Time all cover news of Solange Knowles and Jay-Z getting into a fight in a hotel elevator in 3 very different satirical styles. The humor in any of them really stemmed from the fact that they took the absurdities that were being published by less reputable news sources and took them just one tiny step farther on the crazy scale. But in a world in which we satirize pop culture news and then report it right next to sensationalized real news, I'm finding it more and more difficult to determine if I can trust the real stuff either. Should all satire nowadays come with the disclaimer, "Don't think this is real"? I don't know. Thing number 2 was the AV Club's expert review on last Sunday's Game of Thrones. Whoa. That was my best air guitar. For those of you who don't know, a character who we like was put on trial for a crime he didn't commit. While many of the witnesses brought against him lie outright, his star witness does something slightly different. She takes her otherwise loving backstory with this guy who's on trial, but who then betrayed her, and twists all of the questionable things that he said to her, all of which we as viewers know didn't really happen in that context. She takes them all and uses them against him. While we could use this to springboard into a discussion about gender politics in Westeros, or how great Martin and the showrunners are creating multidimensional characters, I thought it was more poignant to look at personal revisionism, and how we as humans perpetually skew old stories from our lives and pick out the details and tones that we want to best match and fit what we need now. On this note, I recently read another great look at this concept in the form of Daniel Handler's, aka Lemony Snicket's The Basic 8, which is made all the more difficult as the character who's doing the revising is also the first-person narrator. Now for actual gender politics. Item number 3 was an article in New York Mag entitled "But Why Are They Only Taking the Girls?" by Stella Bugbee. When I posted this piece that I still do find somewhat endearing, I pulled the quote about how she's hesitant to tell her daughter the full story about the kidnapping of the girls in Nigeria because she wants to shield her from the atrocities of the world. She comments that, ironically, this is the same shielding that Boko Haram claims to be doing in shielding the girls of Nigeria from, life, knowledge, stuff. And while I guess there is some truth to the relativism of that verb, shield, I would have to ask Miss Bugbee if she wouldn't also shield her son in the same way. The more I think about it, there's a certain meta-irony in trying to compare the inherently disparate natures of 2 very different societies, one where all children are viewed closer to equal and the other in which they aren't at all. Thing number 4 this week is public infrastructure. One of the things I love most in life, and particularly this week, is examining how private citizens use, interact, and influence the various public infrastructure systems around them. And we saw this week in a really, really wide variety of ways. The first, on the monetary front, this week there was an article in Mental Floss about the circularity of the disuse of the $2 bill, which may or may not have something to do with the optimal width of a cash register, but I'll let you figure that out on your own. The second on the transit side was the Transit Visualization Client, which shows, if nothing else, the scheduled paths of the majority of public trains and buses in the world. Think about it. Think about how many public transit systems there are in the world, and the idea of trying to catalog all of that and show it all in real time as these dots move across the wide web of the world, I found to be fascinating. Anywho, this then reminds me of that time last night when I had to maneuver my way back home from the Bronx because the 2 and the 5 stopped running, and that entire experience felt really, really Israeli. As you sort of had people from all walks of life coming together, strangers, banding together to try and figure out how to get where they needed to go when the system that they had once depended on failed them because it wasn't running. Cue then the slideshow from Wired on Israeli bomb shelters, which are still an important piece in Israeli public infrastructure, as unfortunately they still have to be used at times. But how many of them have been converted into local bars and clubs. I thought it was a very, very cool way of reconfiguring how what once served a very, very distinct purpose and now using it for something significantly more fun. And then last, and definitely most importantly, was the national rollout of being able to text your emergencies to 911. Whoa. While it seems like this is a public servicing that should have come out about a decade ago, the fact that we're actually getting to it is very, very big news. However, important caveat that I did not mention earlier in the week is that it has not rolled out in New York yet. Don't start texting your emergencies in New York to 911 because it won't get listened to. But don't worry, because I'm sure at some point, once they do start running it, it will be plastered out in every bus shelter and cash register for miles around. Once again, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, please leave it in the comments. If you have any links to send to me, please send them. I love links. I love reading things. You know that. And with that, this has been your Week in Links. Goodbye. Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum.